Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tamara, and we are here today to review the third installment in the Sins of the Zodiac world, which is Cinder Vale. Cinder Vale recently just came out, and I am very glad I looked up that this is not the last book, because I thought it was. I thought this was a trilogy, and apparently it's not. There's one more book coming out, which is the final installment, and it comes out next year. But if I didn't look that up and I thought that this was the final book, I would have lost it, because the ending in this book is wild. It has my brain spinning in different directions. I feel like I'm theorizing, I'm questioning everything I thought to be true, and I need the fourth book to put my brain at ease about what I'm thinking. And so let's talk about it. But jeez. Wow. Okay, so this is a spoiler talk review. If you haven't read the book and you care to be spoiled, step aside and come back once you have read the book. Or, if you just don't care and you've read the book, let's talk. Let's just talk. I gave this book a 4 out of 5. I did. I really did enjoy it. I felt like it squashed every doubt I had from where this book series started. And if you watched my Neverkeep reaction, I was not a fan of Neverkeep. I was not. Echo Fort gained some traction for me. I liked Echo Fort. I liked where it was headed, and I was really inclined to read this book right away because of how Echo Fort set us up. But Neverkeep, I felt like at the beginning, when we're setting the worlds, when we're trying to understand the point, the purpose, the motive, I felt like it was pretty dry and bleak. Like I refused to believe that all these people cared for is something as minuscule as like a title of recognition on the war front. And that's what our FMCs seemingly were aiming for in Neverkeep. And also the timeline made no sense to me. Like I felt like I questioned a lot of whys in the Neverkeep world until Echo Fort gave us more purpose, because we got more opportunities for the two FMCs who follow very different storylines but connect together in unlikely ways. And that trajectory got me back into it and gave me hope for where this was going. And then we also got introduced to some MMCs and some slow burn relationships, let's just say, and they took a lot more of a fold in this book. But we were set up with a lot of curious content leading into this one and a big ending at the end of Echo Fort. And yeah, so this regained myself quite a bit, and I'm very, very looking forward to the last one. I think that after the details of this book, I almost gave this book a 5. I did. The only thing, there was a couple of things that still irked me a little bit, and we'll talk about it. Very minimal though, so part of me is like, maybe you're being too harsh, Tamara, but I don't think I can let it go. I don't. I think that we'll talk about it, but you guys will probably disagree with me, but it's my opinion. We don't need to agree. It is fine. But let's talk right away about the characters, because that was such a big part in this book. It was a huge part of their growth. That's literally, I feel like, what this book is a whole character growth moment for many of the characters. Our FMC specifically, at the beginning, we had mentioned in Neverkeep, they had this simplistic goal as to where they wanted to end up, both of them, for different reasons. And, their trajectories are very different, but they both got where they wanted at the beginning of this book, and it wasn't enough. And I feel like that's what set the stage a little bit for this overwhelming feeling that hit many characters in this, about feeling lost in who you thought you were meant to be based off of the outcome of your decisions that led you here versus who you actually are and who you choose to be. And like Everest and like Ransom and so many characters in this, like, they were bred for the simplicity of wanting to succeed in the war. There was no other avenue, and that's how they set this up. So as much as I questioned Neverkeep, the first book, maybe it was intended to be so bleak, so we get to these revelations in this book which really hit. So maybe, I don't know if that was a planned intention, but in this book, they got to essentially make those decisions to choose who they wanted to be, and they all followed different storylines. Everyone was different, but that was the overwhelming theme, which was very empowering, like them deciding that I'm going to leave the family I knew. Like Everest literally kills her dad in this and was like, I'll be marked a traitor. I'm going to follow my gut, and I'm going to do this. And I made my choice. And that was great. And I just feel like her leading into that choice was very well paced. Like it made sense. And then her brother Ransom, who's meant to be carrying over as like the lead of command when her dad, you know, passes. Not that they were intending for him to pass like this, but he was meant to be the big bad warrior, like carrying over that command. And he is definitely not one to fight. Like, you learn that the fight is not him at all. He was just playing a part, and he doesn't want to play a part anymore. He wants to make his own choice and be his own person. So it was great. I feel like we got a lot of different lengths of stories. And then we have someone like Kai, who Everest, being the void, indirectly freed him from this spell that was placed on him, making him pretty much a muted human. Like, he had no feeling. He couldn't feel anything. It was suppressed. He was a warrior that had no personality, really, in the prior books because he couldn't feel. And now he has all of his feelings back. And now you get to decide and learn about who he is as a person. Like, you got to really know this person in this book. And North, who's like a brother figure to him, was questioning, did I ever know you at all? Because your feelings were suppressed. Like, how can you move on without feelings? How will you know somebody? And I just feel like we got so much context on Kai and that story and his relationships and how Everest influenced that as well. And it was great. I feel like it was very entertaining. I feel like North is one of those characters who was like a playful comedic relief. It's very typical for the Twisted Sisters, the authors, to introduce a character like that. I feel like in every big series they have a comical relief character, which fits when the story comes together and becomes like a refound family mentality, which I'll get to that. But yeah, I just thought it was really well done. And then Bastion and Vesper's storyline in general, I feel like Vesper is darkness. Like, she's followed darkness for so long. Her story's always been so different. And then she finds her purpose after, you know, she captures the dragon. She gets all these titles. She got this like big, like, she already was a big name, but she got like the power of like a huge title in this. And that didn't matter to her. She avenged her fallen sisters. And even after that, she had no purpose. Like, she literally was like, kill me. Like, I have nothing left to live for. So then she finds her purpose in someone like Bastion, who is literally the product of a war with nothing left to live for. So like, the parallels to how they fill each other's gaps is really great. I just feel like that slow burn really hit. They got really vulnerable. They, you know, it was bickering, it was banter. It was really like a lot of enemies to lovers that became something within the slow burn. And I love me those kind of tropes. So it was really well done. And then obviously she finds this unlikely sisterhood in Everest from being from two different worlds too. I just loved it. I really loved it. And I feel like the reunion was what I was looking forward to of Everest and Vesper. Yes, they reunited at one point in the book, but they didn't stay together because they still were going on separate paths. But when they really got together in like the last couple legs of this book and they are aligned and on the same mission and now staying together, I felt very happy. I really enjoy what they bring to each other's worlds, and it's so sweet, and I love it. They're probably my favorite reunion. They're the two that I loved the most in Echo Fort. I was looking forward to more moments when they're together, and they not only like were together with like the comedic relief and whatnot, they're bickering, but they were like vulnerable and like really opened up and trusting each other and became friends. And it was beautiful. It was actually my favorite relationship in this is that. And I love it. I feel like they hit really well with that slow burn to that friendship too. And then also the refound family thing. So obviously, like, we were brought up to fight and support the people we grew up with, right? But then now, especially Everest killing her dad and her brother being her last real connection to the world she knew before, I feel like everyone came together in the end, like Kai, Bastion, Everest, Vesper, Ransom, Gallamp, North. Like, I feel like we gained a little bit of a group, and I just know they're gonna be like that refound family. They find family in each other, and they're merging all of these different elements because the elements are at a divide. Like, it's all about these politics, but they don't care. They're coming together to actually form their own refound family, and I love it. I love where it's going. I get giddy about it. And also having trajectories like Septa and that whole storyline, and her recognizing that there's more to their world than this war, and there's a bigger enemy out there, and potentially having her sway the tides on that side. I felt like all the POVs were impactful, like they meant something, and I loved it. I just feel like I was very into it. The characters were a huge part in this for me, and I thought they did them incredibly well. The relationships, Bastion and Vesper, really, really like, they progressed, and I loved it. I feel like their relationship was more brutish and sad. Not that Everest isn't sad, but she was on like, Everest's story has always been different because she was on like a journey to prove that she's as strong as she always believed she was. And Vesper always knew she was strong, and everyone already feared Vesper. So her purpose was more dark. It was like following this darkness, right? So I feel like when Vesper and Bastion acknowledged their feelings and really got that emotional tie, it was really sweet. And I think that the slow burn with Everest and Kai, because Kai's a million steps back trying to regain any sense of his emotions, it made sense that they're still pretty slow burn. And I feel like when they realize what they are to each other in the next book is going to hit really well. I think that they pace these really well. I think that North and Ransom have a little bit of like some bickering going on, so maybe they could be something in book 4. I just feel like the romance, the tension is giving for these plot points that are clearly meant to go in that direction, and I loved that too. All right, let's segue into the ending that blew my marbles. Oh, my Lanta. One thing before then, and this is, again, maybe something I am just clearly not getting over. But I had mentioned in my Neverkeep review that the timeline of this book series was questionable to me. Apparently it's meant to happen after the events of the Zodiac Academy, like this series, which didn't make any sense to me because this felt more like a prequel to Zodiac than after the events of Zodiac. Didn't make much sense to me, I'm telling you. But in this book, there was something that came up that made my eye twitch because, again, it just didn't make sense with the timeline. And it's when we were revealed that Bastion was held captive by the Reapers for many years, making stardust or whatever, the dust they used to travel. And he didn't know what that did, that dust. Okay? Dragons in the world of the Zodiac Academy and that whole book series in general, that dust is really coveted. It's rare. Everyone knows of it. Everyone's put their hands on it. And it is something dragons produce, but they're very well aware of what it is and what it does and why it's valuable. Then there's Bastion in this world who's like tortured to make it, not realizing what it is and its impact. It just doesn't make sense how something after the event of Zodiac Academy, how he wouldn't know what that is that he's making. Like, he wouldn't understand the impact. That just doesn't make sense to me. It just feels, again, like a prequel. Like it's something that we learn down the line, the emphasis of this dust, instead of after the events of the Zodiac Academy. Okay, it's so minor, but it bugs me. It bugs me so much. But anyways, we move on. There's an Easter egg, and people are telling me it's an Easter egg, but I was questioning it in a critical way because, again, it didn't make sense for me. There's a point where North is telling, I think it was Bastion, that his brother Diego died, and Diego was obsessed with an ugly hat. And there's a character in Zodiac named Diego who is also obsessed with an ugly hat. And that can't be a coincidence to have a reference to a Diego with an ugly hat, because how many people you come across that fit that description? So here I am sitting here being like, how in anyone's right mind are these people related? Like, I literally started questioning, being like, Kai and Kai and North aren't blood brothers. Like, they're just brothers in circumstance because they kind of were adopted into this Flamebringer family. But that's why I'm like, is maybe Diego a same situation where they're not blood related, or are they really blood related? I don't know. And it just, some people like, don't think too much into it. It was just an Easter egg. But I feel like you can't just drop that emphasis on North's background and what kind of brought him here without it having a real significance with North's story. Like but again, I don't understand how they could be related. Okay, so maybe I'm just overthinking it. I don't know. You guys tell me, but it hit. I literally was like, Again, the timeline's not timelining for me, but it is what it is. Okay, now the ending. The ending of this was revealed that Mavis is not what we thought he was. And I think that big reveal of Mavis is what's making me question so much. Because Mavis was revealed to be, and I'm not going to pronounce it right, I feel like it's like an incubus or something like that as his order form, but he takes on the form, kind of like a shapeshifter, of other people who are desired by somebody else. So if he was talking to someone, he could sense their greatest desire, and he takes the form of that person that they're desiring, and then he gets to keep that form and reuse it all the time. So that's how he gets those forms, through exposure to someone else's deepest desires, okay? And it was revealed at the end that Mavis, the whole premise leading us into the end was that they were trying to suppress this big monster from coming out, who the Reapers intended to utilize and whatnot. And Harlan, our friend, Everest's friend, sent a letter to warn Everest that she was right about the Reapers and not to trust them. And you have to suppress this being on this red moon. Meet me at these towers. And he gave this letter to Mavis to give to Everest, and he specifically said that he sealed it so only she can read it. But when he gave it to Everest, he had already read it, he had already opened it, and that's when my first suspicions of Mavis really kicked off. But I did not expect for the ending for him to have this much significance and emphasis. I really didn't, and now I'm questioning that letter, because I'm like, how did he get into that letter? Is it because he has some weird partnership with this monster? Because it reveals that him and the monster have been in cahoots, and that the whole point of drawing Everest and the gang over to suppress the monster was valid. Like, he wanted it suppressed. It's not like he was manipulating them to free it, because he's kind of now trapped in whatever allegiance he has to this monster, which has shared his form. So I do think that Mavis obviously is one of those kind of people that operates on his own agenda. He only cares for himself. So it makes sense that he's still drawing her in for selfish intention of suppressing this being that has a control over him. But why he opened the letter, it makes me question, one, how could he have? Did he sense that Everest is Harlan's deepest desire? And then took her form, and that's why he could open it, because it looked like it was her? Or is this monster magic so powerful that he broke this seal and maybe changed something in the letter before he gave it to Everest? Because we don't know where Harlan is. We tried to meet up with him, and literally Mavis duped us and separated our group to save Harlan, who wasn't there. So the intention of that lie made no sense to me, because I'm like, why are we preventing our reunion to Harlan as if he knows something about Mavis? And it didn't seem like he did when Mavis and him were interacting. So I'm kind of overthinking, like, why did he break that seal? Like, why did he? Unless it was, you know, just to be in on the plan, but then why lie about Harlan's location when they finally got there? So I don't know where Harlan is. I hope he's okay. But again, Mavis's involvement from the beginning is now making me question. And then it revealed that all of these forms that he has. So he's been Dragor. So Dragor is the prince of the Sky Kingdom, who at one given point, Vesper was like very obsessed with and sleeping with, and, you know, undyingly loyal to. But it revealed that he killed Dragor many years ago and took his form this whole time. So now I'm thinking, like, oh my god, did Vesper do it with Mavis, who she thought was Dragor? Like, when did this happen? Like, when did Vesper become Dragor's pet? And was that actually Mavis leading those decisions this whole time? Because he's been moving all the pieces because of this monster's influence. Not saying he didn't have a choice. He did. But, like, I'm just saying, I'm overthinking it, because I'm just like, ew, she was literally hooking up with Mavis. But then I don't get it, because he could only take the form of Dragor if he was exposed to someone who desired him. So did he meet Vesper, saw her deepest desire was Dragor at the time, because when he first met her, it kind of was, and then took his form then, and then killed him then, and kept taking his form? I don't know. The fact that Dragor's dead blew my mind, just because he's such a force in this book series still. Like, he's literally, Bastion is under his control, but it's not that, it's Mavis. And so that's why I'm like, cool, don't get it. And then he took the form of the Cardinal Reaper at one point, and that part I'm like, who desired the Cardinal Reaper for him to take that form? Given it didn't need to be a sexual desire. It could just be like a spiritual one. But I'm like, who did that? Like, how did he get that form? And he was clearly suppressing Bastion this whole time. And he recognized Bastion right away too, as if like he was the Reaper that captured him. And so I'm just literally like, Mavis, like, what is happening? I don't understand. And at the very end, we literally get these two random figures that come in and save the day for our group to survive. Mavis is gone with Buddy monster guy, but we don't really know, did they free this monster? Did they not? I don't know, because of how the book ended up. And Mavis at the very end is talking to the monster, but he's always been talking to the monster, clearly. Like, it's not like that changed. So I don't know how we ended. Like, I'm questioning it quite a bit, and I'm literally like, I don't understand how this is happening. I don't. I'm curious though. Like, I obviously want to know how Mavis did it. Like, that's I think my biggest thing is, how did he do it? And hopefully it makes sense in the fourth one. So I'm really excited to see how this book series ends, but it was a surprise. Like, it really was. Let me know your theories. Like, I'm still spinning, and again, I could very well be overthinking, but let me know. Bye for now, guys.